It is a rainy winter day, which is all sorts of fun when you're raising sheep.
They're coming to you.
Apparently.
Oh, Addie's being really cute. As Chris just mentioned, it is a rainy January day, and this is a prime example of what happens to the fleece when we start getting these conditions.
So we will say these sheep do have access to shelter, but they don't always choose to use it.
So it doesn't get right down to the skin. If I separate this fiber, you can see that waterproof outer coat is working amazing. She still is dry and warm right down to the skin, like super warm. She is in great shape. But what's happening is we're starting to get felting. That little bit of that inner fleece that is starting to meld with the outer tog is starting to felt. And this is what happens when we get horrible January weather. And if this continues throughout the spring, this fleece will really be a write-off. More of a write-off than it was with the burrs, because it's going to come off as one big mat, which I'm going to show you in the barn out of these conditions in 1 second. So this is an example of a fleece that I took off a sheep last year. Now granted, it has felted a little bit more over time being in the barn. I actually use it as a seat when I'm shearing to sit on, but you can see what I mean. It felts into a mat that I am pulling really hard. There is no machine that's going to really tackle this. And that is what we're starting to see out there. And we're going to go take a look up on the hill at some of the adult sheep, because that was all the lamb fleece, and I know it was already kind of destroyed anyways by burrs. But up until yesterday, my adult fleece was looking absolutely incredible. So we're going to see if anybody will let us near so we can kind of get in there and see how bad it is felting. Are you hungry? We're going to the barn.
She was founded, she's not exactly looking too bad.
Oh, they were like synchronized dancing there. Let's see if they do it at the other end. Look at them, it's like they're trained. Listen to Mandy. You're gonna hurt yourself. Hey, baby. Long story short, as much as it looks like these girls are having a great time out here, right, Mandy? Right? Last night we had a lot of snow followed by freezing rain, and now it's still raining. And you can see, if she'll stand still for me. Yes, I know. What are you doing? These girls are pretty soaked through. And tonight we're dropping down to -13. And once they've dried out and the weather has improved, these girls, let's see if I can get them in the shot here. These girls can come back out. They can handle the cold, they just can't handle it if they're soaking wet. So into the barn they come. They're probably not going to be super happy with that, but it's for their own good. Well, I forgot to bring the extra lead rope back, so twine it is. Hopefully they're in the mood to behave. So it is not nice out. Wait, Mandy. But you can see here what I mean about how wet she is. It's not right down to the skin, but it's enough that when that freezes, it's not going to be comfortable for her. So rather than blanketing, we're just coming in the barn. I think they're happy to be in the barn.
Well, I think that's probably the only take-home message really, aside from the felting bit about this video, is Icelandic sheep and sheep in general are pretty hardy. But when you get this kind of weather, and we're going to get this again and again over the winter, I think one of the big things is no matter how hardy they are, no matter how hardy any animal is, you still have to give them some kind of shelter. So we're past the breeding season now, and our sheep are sort of back into two groups. The ones you just saw, who are the young unbred ewes, ewe lambs from last year, and this group is the bred ewes. So before we came out and fed hay this morning, they were all in here taking shelter from this rain. So they do use it if given the opportunity.
What you're seeing behind me here, this is something that we do in the winter time, especially when we have fresh snow, is moving the feed spots around throughout the pasture. Not only does it keep them on clean surfaces for eating, by using this method we disperse the waste vegetable matter and that sort of thing around the pastures, which is great for a fertilization perspective as well, because it's also moving the manure as they go around eating. That tends to be where they poop. So it also tends to be where they sleep when they don't want to be in the building. So that's just how sheep roll. There's always going to be a little bit of waste, but not as much as sometimes. So the old girls aren't going to demonstrate this as well. Of course, now everybody's going to come running because I got down to their level. But what you're seeing here is a lot more of that outer fleece. That's something that develops really, really to a really higher level on your adult animals, which is why their fleece is not as desirable as a lamb fleece, because it has more of these coarse long hairs. I don't know if you can, woo, and she shoots poop everywhere.
And water.
But here you can see, if I reach forward, okay, Sasha? Nope. So really this video is just sort of sharing some of our trials and tribulations that we are facing with the Icelandic sheep now that we are starting to see these things in the climate change and in the environment. Even though they are a breed that is meant to be hardy in the winter and able to handle those cold temperatures, we are noticing that there are issues with what we're starting to see now with these fluctuating extreme changes, and we have -13 in snow, but by morning we're +3 and it's pouring rain. Those are things that could be detrimental, and we have to learn to adapt our practices as this goes, because we need to be flexible, they need to be flexible, and they aren't always, because, well, they're sheep. I do think as we evolve with them on the farm, and our channel shares this story, you'll see some changes in how we do things. We've kind of chosen the Icelandic breed because of their fleece. Yes, we do use them primarily for meat, but we chose them for their secondary product of fleece. And if we lose that secondary product, that's kind of problematic, because then why have them? So that's something we are having to adapt. And I do think, as much as I would normally wait till March or even April to shear them, it's going to have to come off early if I want to have any sort of usable fleece. So this is where we have to develop our barn and get that set up to be more of a holding space when the weather is bad, and it will work for them and the number of sheep that we have. So definitely stay tuned, because that will be coming as we start gutting it and setting it all up, and hopefully keeping my fleece safe and the sheep happy.